A fictional story, written in the style of legend. Nobody at that party expected a professional athlete to end up on his back in front of 40 guests. Nobody expected the smallest man in the room to be the reason. And nobody, least of all the man who threw the insult, expected Bruce Lee to respond in less time than it takes to finish a sentence. This is that story. Beverly Hills, California, October 1972. A Friday evening, the kind Los Angeles produces almost on schedule in early autumn, warm air holding onto the last of the summer heat. The hills lit gold just before the sun finally gives up for the day. The house belongs to a film producer who has spent 2 decades collecting famous friends the way other men collect cars. Tonight the pool deck is full of them. Actors between projects, a senator's son, 2 studio executives arguing quietly about a script nobody has greenlit yet, and a small cluster of professional athletes invited because the producer likes the photographs that result. Bruce Lee arrives a little after 9. He is dressed simply, dark trousers, a cream-colored shirt, no jewelry, nothing that announces him before he announces himself. He is here because the producer is a friend and because Linda told him he works too much and should, for one evening, simply exist among people without trying to convince anyone of anything. He intends to keep that promise. He has a drink he barely touches, talks briefly with people he likes, and finds a quiet corner near the pool where the noise of the party thins out into something more bearable. He is 32 years old, 5'7", 135 pounds. Tonight, nothing about him suggests what he is capable of, and that is exactly how he prefers it. Marcus Webb is impossible to miss. 6'4", 260 pounds, a starting linebacker for a team that has just come off a winning Sunday. His confidence inflated to match. He has been at the party for 2 hours and has spent most of that time being told by people who want something from him exactly how impressive he is. He has started to believe it more than usual. He notices Bruce the way large men sometimes notice small ones, as a kind of curiosity, a data point that doesn't fit. Someone nearby mentions, in passing, that the quiet man by the pool is Bruce Lee, the martial artist, the one from the television show, the one people in Hollywood are starting to whisper about. Marcus has heard the name. He has also, 2 drinks into the evening, decided he doesn't think much of it. Martial arts, he says to his small audience, loud enough to carry. Karate, kung fu, whatever you want to call it. It's a nice show for tourists. Real athletes don't need any of that. You put a guy like that. He tips his glass toward Bruce without quite looking at him. Against a real athlete, a real competitor, and it's over before it starts. A few people laugh, the nervous kind of laughter that exists to fill silence rather than express amusement. Bruce hears it. He does not turn immediately. He finishes the thought he was having, sets his glass down on the low stone wall beside him, and only then looks over. Marcus sees the attention and decides to use it. He crosses the deck with the easy, room-owning stride of a man who has never had to consider whether a room was his. "Hey," he says, stopping a few feet from Bruce, looking down at him from a foot above. "No offense. I'm just saying, that kung fu stuff, the chops, the kicks, that's movie stuff, right? Choreographed. Nobody's actually hitting anybody." "Some of it is choreographed," Bruce says. His voice is even, unhurried. "Most of what I do isn't." Marcus grins at his friends like Bruce has just proven his point for him. "Sure. Look, I respect what you do for the cameras. But you and me in a real situation? No script, no stunt guys." He shrugs, a theatrical, oversized shrug built for an audience. "I'd put you on the ground before you got your hands up." The pool deck has gone quieter. A dozen conversations have folded into one. The producer, sensing the temperature of the evening shifting, starts moving toward the 2 men, already composing an apology in his head. Bruce doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't stand taller or square his shoulders or do any of the things a man might do to make himself look larger before an audience. He simply says, "Try." One word, no performance in it. Just an answer to a question that didn't need to be asked twice. Marcus laughs, a short, surprised bark of a laugh. The laugh of a man who offered a door expecting it to stay closed and is mildly delighted to find someone reaching for the handle. "You're serious. You made the claim," Bruce says. "I'm only asking you to test it." The producer arrives at exactly the wrong moment to stop anything, and exactly the right moment to make it official. "Gentlemen, please, this is a party, not a..." "It's fine," Bruce says, glancing at him with something almost like reassurance. "Nobody's getting hurt who doesn't want to be." That last sentence does something to the air. A few people who had been edging toward the exits of the conversation now edge back in. 40 guests, by the loosest count, have arranged themselves in a rough horseshoe around the open stretch of stone deck between the pool and the bar. Pool lights throw blue light up into the night. Somewhere a stereo is still playing, forgotten. Too quiet now to compete with the silence everyone has decided to keep. Marcus sets down his drink. He rolls his shoulders the way he does on a football field before a play. A gesture that has worked for him for 15 years against men considerably larger than the one standing in front of him now. He is not afraid. He has no framework for being afraid of someone this size. What he has instead is the specific, uncomplicated confidence of a man who has never once in his career needed technique to survive, only mass, and the willingness to use it. "Last chance to back out," he says, smiling for the crowd. Bruce says nothing. He simply waits, hands at his sides, wait even, completely still in the particular way that he is still, not frozen, not tense, but settled, the stillness of something that is already moving and simply hasn't been asked yet. Marcus comes forward the way he has come forward 1,000 times on a football field, leading with size, leading with the assumption that contact alone will end the discussion. His right hand reaches for Bruce's shoulder. Not a punch. Not yet. Just the same dominant shove he used in college to move smaller men out of doorways and out of arguments. The gesture that has never once failed him. It fails him now. In the first half-second, Bruce's hand intercepts Marcus's wrist before the shove gathers any force at all, not blocking it, redirecting it. The way a man might gently close a door someone is leaning on rather than pushing back against the lean. Marcus's hand finds nothing to push against. His own momentum, suddenly unopposed, carries his arm past where he intended it to stop. In the second half-second, Bruce steps inside the space Marcus's reach has just vacated, not away from the larger man, but toward him, into the one position Marcus's size was never built to defend. By the third half-second, Bruce's other hand has found Marcus's elbow, and a small, precise rotation of Bruce's hips. 20 years of training compressed into a motion that takes no longer than a blink, turns Marcus's own forward weight against his own balance. There is no strike. There doesn't need to be one. Marcus feels his feet lose their argument with the ground at almost the same moment he registers that something has gone wrong. 260 pounds of professional athlete tips forward, then sideways, then down, and lands flat on the pool deck stone with a sound that silences whatever was left of the music. He is not hurt. Bruce has controlled the fall as carefully as he controlled the throw, guiding rather than dropping him, but he is, unmistakably, on his back, staring up at the string lights strung along the patio roof, with absolutely no memory of how he got there. For seconds, 40 witnesses, total silence. Bruce stands exactly where he started, hands loose at his sides, breathing as though nothing at all has happened, because as far as his body is concerned, nothing at all has. He does not smile. He does not look around for approval. He simply waits, the way a teacher waits for a student to finish processing a lesson. Marcus lies there for 2 full seconds before his pride catches up to the rest of him. He sits up, palms flat against the stone, shaking his head once like a man clearing water from his ears. He looks for the punch that put him down and cannot find a memory of one because there wasn't one to find. "What did you just?" he starts and stops because he doesn't have the rest of the sentence yet. Bruce extends a hand, not in triumph, in the same unhurried way he might help a friend up from a fall on a hiking trail. Marcus stares at the offered hand for a long moment. Around the horseshoe of guests, nobody breathes. Then Marcus takes it. Bruce pulls him up with no apparent effort, and the two men stand facing each other again, except the distance between them has changed in some way that has nothing to do with feet and inches. Marcus is still nearly a foot taller. He no longer looks larger. "I didn't even see your hands move," Marcus says. His voice has lost its performance entirely. What's left is something closer to honest. "You weren't looking for what actually mattered," Bruce says. "You were looking for a punch. I never threw one. Then what was that? Your own weight. Bruce says. I only changed where it was going. Marcus runs a hand through his hair, looks down at the spot on the stone where he landed, looks back up. I've played 12 years of professional football. Men bigger than me, faster than me. I have never been put on the ground that easily in my life. Size matters in football, Bruce says. The game is built around it. But a fight isn't a game with rules everyone agreed to in advance. You came at me the way you'd come at a man on a field, expecting contact to decide it. I didn't give you contact to use. Marcus is quiet, working through that the way a man works through something he didn't expect to need to understand tonight. Finally, he says, I was out of line. What I said, that wasn't really about you. I think I just wanted everyone to keep telling me I was the biggest thing in the room. Bruce studies him for a moment, and something in his expression softens. Not triumph, something closer to recognition. Most fights people start outside the ring, he says, aren't really about the other person at all. The crowd, which has been holding its breath collectively for what feels like a year, finally exhales into a ripple of nervous, astonished conversation. Someone laughs, real laughter this time, the kind that comes from relief rather than discomfort. The producer, who has been standing frozen through the entire exchange, with a drink going warm in his hand, finally remembers how to move and claps Bruce lightly on the shoulder. Already composing the version of this story he will tell at every dinner party for the next decade. Marcus and Bruce talk for almost 20 minutes after that, off to one side of the pool deck, away from the crowd that keeps trying to drift close enough to listen. Marcus asks questions a serious athlete asks once his ego stops being in the way of his curiosity, about balance, about leverage, about how a man 250 pounds lighter than his opponents could possibly generate force that mattered. Bruce answers all of them patiently, the way he answers anyone who is finally ready to actually hear the answer, rather than simply waiting for permission to disagree. You have real athletic ability, Bruce tells him near the end of the conversation. Real conditioning, real reflexes built over years. That's not nothing. But strength without technique is a door that only opens one way. Tonight, you found out there's another way through. Could you teach me some of that? Marcus asks, and there is nothing left in his voice of the man who walked across that pool deck 20 minutes earlier. If you're serious, Bruce says, and not just because you got put on the ground in front of your friends. Marcus laughs, properly this time, the sound of a man who has just had a very expensive lesson and is starting to think it might have been worth the price. Maybe both. That's an honest answer, Bruce says. Come by the school sometime. We'll see. Marcus Webb never did become a martial artist of any consequence. By his own account, years later, in an interview nobody bothered to fact-check too closely, he trained for a handful of months before football took the rest of his attention back. But he told the story of that October evening for the rest of his career, usually to rookies on his own team, who arrived with more confidence in their size than respect for what they didn't yet understand. He always ended it the same way. I learned more in 4 seconds on that pool deck, he'd say, than in 12 years of being the biggest man in every room I walked into. Bruce Lee never threw a punch at me. He didn't need to. He just showed me that being big and being dangerous were two completely different things, and that I'd been confusing them my whole life. 40 witnesses, for seconds, one lesson that outlasted every Sunday he ever played.